Hi, guys. Welcome back. I've been away for a few days. Over the weekend, I played in the New York State Championship in Albany, New York. I live in upstate New York, and it was a heck of a tournament, over 300 people. Some pretty good players there, a cross-section across New York State. There was a couple of GMs and IM, a whole bunch of experts. I was in the lower section in the under 1,500 rated, and this is game one that I played. I am black. The individual I played in round one is Nemiroff. He is white. Let's get to it. My usual Scandinavian pawn takes. I go knight f6. Now, that's a trap, because if you try to save the pawn, it ends up in all kinds of craziness. So he rightfully went knight c3, probably sensing something. I played knight takes. He brought queen out. Now you see the knight's attacked twice. I just defended the knight. He hit the knight again. And I have the computer on off screen. Of course, the move is defend. He played his knight out. I played knight d7. So far, I'm going along with the computer, which I'm really happy with. He played d4. I thought for a while, well, what do you do here? You know, it's starting to get a little crowded. I need to get my light squared bishop out. Let's just get the queens off the board. And I took with the D knight. And I think we got a pretty good position. It's a hair advantage for white. We'll say it's even. So we're on move 8, and black is already equalized. So I consider it pretty good. Knight f4 was an interesting move. Let's go back here. The computer really likes, I shouldn't say really, but it likes f3, and it likes castle. Why f3? I really don't know. That one I can't figure out. But anyway, he went knight f4. So I figured, okay, I'll just... Probably should have taken the knight at c3, but I decided to go bishop e7 first. He went a3. He doesn't want my knight coming in to here and threaten his pawn will be a big pain in his butt. So I played knight takes, pawn takes. That screws up his pawn formation. Knight e4, hitting the c-pawn. He plays bishop b2. The position's about equal. So that's pretty good for black. His pawn structure's a little messed up. I go bishop g5, hitting the knight. And he goes bishop d3, hitting my knight. So what do you do? Well, the thing of it is, this bishop's hitting my knight, but nothing's hitting my bishop. So what do? Well, you just take a pawn. Now his bishop is still hanging, and if he moves the knight, I'll play knight takes bishop with check. So he plays king takes. He was a little disgusted, and I play bishop takes. I'm up a pawn now. So I'm doing fairly well. His pawns are a little messed up. I have the bishop pair as well as him. 4 bishops and 4 rooks on the board makes it complicated, but there's a lot of pawns, so we'll see how this works out. He goes c4. Computer likes f5. I thought about that. I didn't want the backward e pawn, so I just castled. He went g3, kicking the bishop. I moved the bishop back to g5. You know, I'm thinking this is the first round. We play in the morning. I'm not a morning person. So my head is starting to clear out a little bit. So I'm in pretty good shape considering. He decides to go h4 to chase the bishop. I just move it here. And he goes g4. He's just coming like he's going to have this big attack. It's not really there. I just ignore it and play c5. He goes c3 to reinforce the pawn. And I move the bishop off. He's going to chase him with a pawn anyway, give him a tempo. He goes h5. Here come the pawns, but there's not really much here to attack with, to be honest with you. You know, there's a lot of moves here you could do. Computer still likes f5, believe it or not. Bishop d7. I just moved the rook over. Now we go to take. If I move that bishop back to f6, I can go after that pawn. And we'll see. Maybe break things up in the middle a little bit and get my rooks out. He goes rook e1. And according to the computer, my advantage is starting to go up a little bit. I'm a pawn up. I'm about almost a pawn and a half advantage for black. So little by little, I'm making up a lot of ground. C takes, bishop c5. Now, if he takes that bishop, he loses his light squared bishop. So he moves that to guard the bishop. Now, do you all see why I can't take this pawn? Stop the video and see why I can't play bishop takes. In other words, bishop takes, rook takes. I win a pawn, right? Well, no. Stop the video and see, because after I play bishop takes, rook takes, bishop takes, h7 with a discovery. It's check. And I lose the rook. And I saw that. And when I moved the bishop, you could tell he sighed a little bit, like, oh boy, he didn't fall for it. I think he was counting on that. So he went h6. I just went g6. He went d5. Now he thinks somehow he's going to get his bishop on g7. I just ignore it. And the bishop takes pawn. Now I'm 3 pawns up now. It's over 4-point advantage. For all intents and purposes, this game is over. Rook d to e1. I went bishop checks. He moves the king. I go bishop e6, and I'm pretty secure here. There's no way his rooks are getting in. Bishop takes. Now he thinks he's got this attack, and he's going to be able to queen. He plays bishop takes. Now, if you play f takes, you lose the bishop. If you play pawn takes, rook takes. So I take with a G pawn. Everybody thinks, oh boy, you're done now, John. He's going to check you here, and then he's going to queen. Well, no. He moved the bishop thinking he was going to do that. And I just moved the king to block the pawn. And the game is really over. And I just lost the exchange, but I was up a piece anyway. He sacrificed. So right now I have 2 bishops and 2 pawns for a rook. A huge advantage. He played pawn takes. I checked him first. He played king to f2. I played bishop takes. And he was so flustered by now, knowing the game was over. He kind of messed up on rook a1 to guard the pawn without realizing, of course, his rook was there. So after he would play rook takes, he's basically done. He can't save the pawn on h6. He's got a rook and a bishop and 4 pawns against him. There's no way he can win, so he finally threw in the towel. So that was not an easy game, but an easier game. So I felt pretty relieved that first thing in the morning on round 1. I haven't played a tournament game in quite a while. That I made out. So there it is. Maybe not the top chess in the world, but I was happy with the result. So I've got a few more rounds to go. This is only round 1. So all you chess fans out there, until next game, goodbye and good luck.